The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council glowed with soft blue light from countless floating orbs. Admiral James stood at attention, his gray skin reflecting the gentle illumination as he watched the council members argue among themselves. The message that had arrived 3 days ago still played on the massive central screen, its words sending shivers down his spine. "We have watched for 10,000 years," the ancient being on the screen spoke, its crystalline form pulsing with each word. "We have seen species rise and fall, but none like the humans. They are beyond your limits of control, beyond your understanding. Do not attempt to bring them into your empire. You will regret it." The council members laughed, their multiple arms gesturing dismissively at the warning. They had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years. What could one primitive species from a backwater solar system possibly do to threaten them? Admiral James wasn't laughing. He had studied the reports about Earth, about how humans had gone from primitive fire users to space exploration in less than 10,000 years, about how they had survived multiple near-extinction events and emerged stronger each time, about their strange ability to keep fighting even when defeat seemed certain. "The Watchers are a dying race," High Counselor Rex announced, his voice booming through the chamber. "Their time is past. They fear what they cannot understand. We are the Galactic Empire. We have brought peace and order to 10,000 worlds. Earth will be no different." James stepped forward, clearing his throat. "With respect, High Counselor, perhaps we should investigate further. The humans have shown remarkable." "Remarkable?" Rex interrupted, mandibles clicking in amusement. "They haven't even colonized their own solar system properly. Their ships are primitive. Their weapons are based on chemical explosives. They waste time on art and music when they should focus on progress." The other council members nodded in agreement, but James noticed something they missed. In the latest reports, human ships had begun using new forms of propulsion. Their weapons were evolving rapidly. And their art and music. They had already spread to 17 different alien worlds, inspiring changes in cultures that had remained static for millennia. "We will proceed as planned," Rex declared. "The integration fleet will depart in 30 days. Earth will be brought into the Empire, whether they wish it or not. Their resources and labor will serve a greater purpose." James watched as the council members filed out, already discussing how to divide Earth's resources among themselves. He remained behind, staring at the frozen image of the Watcher on the screen. The ancient being's crystalline form seemed to glow with an inner light of wisdom and warning. Walking to his private chamber, James accessed the restricted files on human history. The more he read, the more his concern grew. Humans had fought wars that should have destroyed them, yet they rebuilt stronger. They faced disasters that should have ended their civilization, yet they adapted. They created art that moved emotions in species that weren't even capable of human feelings. Most concerning of all, they learned, not just slowly over generations, like most species, but quickly, constantly, hungrily. They took ideas from their enemies and improved them. They turned their fictional stories into reality. They dreamed of impossible things and then found ways to make them possible. A message flashed on his screen. The integration fleet's plans were complete. They would arrive at Earth with overwhelming force, expecting an easy victory. The Empire would offer them a choice: join willingly or be forced to join. James closed his eyes, remembering the Watcher's words. Beyond your limits of control. He had served the Empire faithfully for 200 years, maintaining order across the galaxy. But for the first time, he felt a creeping doubt. Opening a secure channel, he began composing a message to his old friend in the diplomatic corps. Perhaps there was still time to change the Council's mind. Still time to prevent what he increasingly feared would be a catastrophic mistake. On his screen, the human history continued to play. A species that had gone from horse-drawn carriages to space stations in less than 200 years stared back at him. A species that still fought among themselves, yet united instantly against outside threats. A species that turned their greatest weaknesses into strengths. The Empire had just made its first mistake. They had ignored the warning. It wouldn't be their last mistake. The Empire's diplomatic fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their massive ships casting long shadows across the stars. On the command bridge of the lead ship, Fleet Commander Wilson watched the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His orders were simple: make first contact and begin the integration process. What he saw surprised him. Instead of the primitive detection systems they had expected, advanced scanning arrays tracked their every move. Rather than panic at their arrival, Earth's communications remained calm and organized. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "we're detecting automated defense platforms throughout the system. Their technology. It's not what our reports indicated." Before Wilson could respond, a transmission cut through their communications. The human who appeared on screen wore a simple blue uniform, his gray hair and steady gaze suggesting both age and wisdom. "This is Ambassador Thomas of Earth's United Council," the human said clearly. "We've been expecting you. Welcome to Sol System." Wilson blinked his 4 eyes in surprise. According to their intelligence, Earth's nations were divided, barely able to cooperate. Yet here was a unified voice speaking for the entire planet. "We have prepared a diplomatic station in lunar orbit for our meetings," Thomas continued smoothly. "Our ships will guide you there." As if on cue, sleek vessels emerged from behind Earth's moon. Their design was unlike anything in the Empire's database. They moved with a grace that suggested technology far beyond what humans should possess. In his private quarters later that day, Wilson reviewed the first diplomatic meeting with growing unease. The humans hadn't been impressed by the Empire's displays of technological superiority. Instead, they had asked pointed questions about trade relations, cultural exchange programs, and scientific cooperation. Ambassador Thomas had been particularly interested in the Empire's educational systems. "We're eager to learn," he had said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Humanity has always been curious about new ideas. What troubled Wilson most was what his sensors had detected on Earth's surface. Factories that hadn't existed a month ago. New energy signatures that suggested power sources the Empire didn't understand. And strangest of all, a global communication network that seemed to be evolving even as they watched. "Send a priority message to command," he ordered his communications officer. "The humans are not what we expected." The response came quickly. "Proceed as planned. They are still primitive compared to the Empire. Begin integration protocols." Over the next few days, Wilson watched as human diplomats absorbed everything the Empire shared, asking questions that revealed both their eagerness to learn and their surprising depth of understanding. They accepted the Empire's gifts of basic technology with gratitude that seemed almost exaggerated. What the Empire representatives didn't notice was how each piece of technology they demonstrated disappeared into human research labs, emerging days later subtly changed, improved, integrated with human innovations in ways that should have been impossible. On the 5th day, Wilson received a private message from Admiral James. "Watch carefully. They're not just learning, they're preparing." Walking through the lunar diplomatic station, Wilson passed a group of human engineers discussing Empire technology with his technical staff. Their questions seemed innocent, but there was something in their eyes, a hungry intelligence, a fierce determination, that made him uncomfortable. In the station's observation deck, he watched Earth rotate below. Cities glittered in the night side, a testament to human advancement. But now he saw something else. New structures rising, shipyards taking shape in orbit, a civilization transforming itself at an unprecedented rate. Ambassador Thomas joined him at the window. "Beautiful, isn't it?" the human asked quietly. "We've always dreamed of reaching the stars. Now that we know what's out there, those dreams are becoming very interesting indeed." Wilson felt a chill run down his spine. In Thomas's tone, he heard not the gratitude of a primitive species being uplifted, but something far more dangerous. The confidence of a race that had just been handed the keys to their own liberation. The Empire thought they were beginning the integration of Earth. They didn't realize that humanity was already several steps ahead, preparing for a future very different from what the Empire had planned. 3 months after first contact, military advisor Michael stood in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching screens that showed Empire cultural exchange centers being built across Earth. On the surface, everything looked peaceful. Humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge, building a brighter future. But Michael knew better. "They're mapping our defense systems," he said to the gathered world leaders on the secure screens around him. "Every cultural center has deep scanning technology hidden in its walls. Every teacher they send is a military analyst." The president of the African Union leaned forward. "And what are they learning about us?" Michael smiled. "Exactly what we want them to learn. The false data feeds are working perfectly. They think our military bases are where they were 20 years ago. They're seeing outdated technology, studying defunct defense systems. The Empire thought they were being clever. They introduced new technologies slowly, watching how humans reacted, waiting for signs of military development. But they didn't understand how humans learned. They couldn't grasp how quickly Earth's scientists took each new piece of information and transformed it into something new." In orbit, Empire ships patrolled proudly, their crews confident in their superiority. They didn't notice the small changes in Earth's satellites, didn't recognize how the humans had already improved their shield technology, didn't realize that every primitive human device now contained innovations that went far beyond Empire science. The Empire's integration schedule shows they plan to establish their first military base next month, Michael continued. "They'll claim it's for our protection, of course, to help defend Earth against hostile aliens." The Chinese premier's image flickered on screen. "Our factories are ready." The moment they try to establish a permanent military presence, everything changes, Michael finished. He turned to another screen showing Admiral James, their ally within the Empire. "How much does the Empire Council suspect?" James looked worried. "They're becoming concerned about how quickly humans are advancing, but they still think they're in control. Their arrogance blinds them. They can't imagine that a primitive species could be outthinking them." In labs across Earth, human scientists were already far beyond what the Empire thought possible. They had taken the Empire's faster-than-light technology and made it twice as efficient. Their weapons research had turned Empire defense systems into something entirely new. But most importantly, they had discovered the Empire's greatest weakness, their rigid, unchanging way of thinking. Michael walked through holographic displays showing Earth's true military readiness. Hidden shipyards produced vessels that combined the best of human innovation with improved Empire technology. Defensive systems waited in secret locations, ready to activate at a moment's notice. And in deep space, human scouts were already mapping the Empire's territories, finding allies among other species who resented Empire control. The latest report from Ambassador Thomas, his assistant said, handing him a tablet. "The Empire is planning to accelerate their integration schedule. They're getting nervous about how easily we've adapted to their presence." Michael nodded. The Empire had expected resistance, riots, fear. Instead, they got calm acceptance and eager cooperation. It made them uneasy, but they couldn't understand why. They didn't realize that humans had been preparing for this moment for centuries through books, movies, and games. First contact wasn't a shock. It was the fulfillment of countless human dreams and plans. "Send word to all commands," Michael ordered. "The moment the Empire tries to establish their military base, Operation Beyond Limits begins. Let's show them why the Watchers warned them about us." As he looked at the night sky through the facility's window, Michael thought about humanity's history. Every empire that had tried to conquer humanity had failed. Every challenge had made humans stronger. Now, facing the greatest empire in the galaxy, humanity was about to prove once again why they were, as the Watchers had said, beyond limits. The Empire thought they were integrating Earth into their dominion. They were about to learn that humans had very different plans for the future of the galaxy. The red lights flashed across Mars Colony 1 as the Empire's construction ships descended through the thin atmosphere. They had announced their plan to build a defensive base on the red planet just hours earlier, expecting no resistance from the primitive human settlers. They were wrong. Deep within the colony's control center, Commander Reed watched as the Empire ships approached. His finger hovered over a button marked Defense Protocol Alpha. On screens around him, similar scenes played out across the solar system. Empire ships approaching Earth's moon, the mining stations around Jupiter, and the research bases near Saturn. All stations report ready, his communications officer announced. Earth Command gives us green light. Reed took a deep breath. Send the warning first. Let's follow protocol. The message was simple. To all Empire vessels, you are entering restricted military space. Withdraw immediately. On his screen, he saw the Empire commander laugh. Their ships continued their descent, weapons powered down, completely confident in their superiority. They had no idea that the simple dome structures of Mars Colony 1 concealed the most advanced defensive systems humanity had ever built. They're not stopping, Reed announced to the combined Earth Command watching through secure channels, initiating Defense Protocol Alpha. What happened next would be remembered for centuries throughout the galaxy. The primitive human colony suddenly transformed. Hidden panels slid open, revealing weapon systems that combined Empire technology with human innovation. But it wasn't just the weapons that surprised the Empire. It was their complete inability to detect them until that moment. Impossible. The Empire commander's voice crackled through the comm system. Their shield technology, it's beyond military grade. Reed smiled as his sensors showed similar scenes playing out across the solar system. Empire ships found themselves trapped in gravitational fields they couldn't detect. Their advanced sensors were blinded by human countermeasures that shouldn't have existed. Their weapons, when they finally tried to use them, found their energy absorbed and redirected by human shields. Then Admiral James's voice came through on a secure channel. Reed, you have incoming. The Empire just launched their main battle fleet from Alpha Centauri. They're abandoning diplomacy. Good, Reed replied. Tell Earth Command it's time for Phase 2. Across Mars's surface, hidden hangar doors opened. Ships rose from beneath the red sand. Human vessels that combined the best of Earth's creativity with improved Empire technology. They moved in ways the Empire's tactical computers couldn't predict, using maneuvers developed through centuries of human warfare and space fiction. Empire vessels, Reed broadcast on all channels. This is your final warning. Our weapons are targeted. Withdraw from the Sol system immediately. The Empire responded with their main battle fleet, dropping out of hyperspace near Mars. Thousands of ships, the pride of their military, ready to crush this unexpected resistance. Admiral James's voice came through again. They've deployed their entire third fleet. The Council is furious. They're demanding immediate surrender. Reed looked at his tactical display, watching as human ships moved into position. Years of preparation, of hidden development, of careful planning had led to this moment. Send the signal to Earth Command. Tell them to activate all systems. Across the solar system, humanity's true defensive network came online. Every asteroid belt became a weapon. Every seemingly innocent satellite revealed its hidden purpose. The Empire fleet found itself caught in a web of human ingenuity and determination. They're launching their first attack, his tactical officer reported. Reed nodded, thinking of all the science fiction stories humans had written about this moment, all the games they had played, the scenarios they had imagined. Humanity had been preparing for this day, not just for years, but for generations. All units, he commanded, execute Battle Plan Omega. Show them why the Watchers warned them about humanity. The space around Mars lit up with weapon fire, and the first true battle between humanity and the Empire began. It would not be the last. On Earth, watching through secure feeds, military advisor Michael turned to Ambassador Thomas. Do you think they understand yet? Thomas shook his head. No, but they're about to learn why you should never corner a species that turned the stories of its children into blueprints for the future. 1 month after the Battle of Mars, the Empire's grand strategy was in ruins. Their mighty fleets, built over thousands of years, found themselves outwitted by human tactics that made no sense to their battle computers. Humans didn't fight the way the Empire expected. They didn't follow the rules of space warfare that had governed the galaxy for 50,000 years. In the command center of Earth's new flagship, Imagination, Admiral Reed watched the tactical display showing battles across 3 sectors of space. Human ships darted between Empire formations, using maneuvers inspired by old video games and science fiction movies. The Empire's rigid battle doctrine had no answer for human creativity. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the Empire's 7th Fleet is approaching Proxima Centauri. They're using their standard attack pattern." Reed smiled. "Deploy the drones." Thousands of small automated ships emerged from hidden bases. Unlike the Empire's predictable automated units, these drones were controlled by human AI systems that learned and adapted in real time. They had been trained on centuries of human strategy games, making them impossible for Empire computers to predict. "Fleet Master," an Empire commander's voice crackled through the communication system. "This defies all logic. Your ships move without pattern. Your weapons ignore our strongest shields. How is this possible?" "Simple," Reed replied. "We spent centuries imagining how we would fight aliens. While you were perfecting one way of war, we were dreaming up thousands." The Empire had expected humans to use their technology the same way every other species did. Instead, humans had taken Empire designs and changed them in ways that seemed impossible. They turned communication arrays into weapons. They'd modified shield technology to create new forms of propulsion. They combined technologies in ways the Empire had never considered. In his private quarters, Reed reviewed reports from across the expanding war zone. Human guerrilla tactics were wreaking havoc on Empire supply lines. Small teams of human specialists infiltrated Empire bases using techniques developed by Earth's special forces. The Empire's mighty war machine, designed to fight conventional battles, had no defense against humanity's unconventional warfare. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "we're receiving reports from Empire worlds. Some of their colonies are asking for human protection." This was something else the Empire hadn't expected. Humans didn't just fight. They brought hope. They shared their innovations freely with oppressed worlds. They taught others how to think differently, how to break free from the Empire's rigid control. On the main screen, Reed watched as a combined fleet of human and newly liberated alien ships engaged the Empire's 7th Fleet. The Empire vessels moved in perfect formation, following tactics unchanged for millennia. The Allied fleet moved like a swarm of angry bees, each ship acting independently while still part of a greater whole. "Their flagship is retreating," the tactical officer announced. "The entire 7th Fleet is falling back." Reed nodded. The Empire was learning a hard lesson. There's a difference between ruling the galaxy and being worthy of ruling it. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting, adapting, and overcoming challenges. They had learned from every defeat, grown stronger from every setback. In the ship's meeting room later that day, Reed met with leaders from newly liberated worlds. They watched in amazement as humans taught their engineers new ways to use Empire technology, ways that the Empire had never imagined because they had stopped imagining centuries ago. "The Empire thought humanity would be easy to control because we were young," Reed explained to them. "They didn't understand that our youth was our strength. We never stopped learning, never stopped dreaming, never accepted that something was impossible just because everyone said it was." As he looked out at the stars through the ship's window, Reed thought about how far humanity had come, from cave paintings to starships, from stone tools to weapons that could reshape space itself. The Empire had awakened something they couldn't control: humanity's full potential. "Send word to all fleets," he ordered. "Operation Starburst begins at dawn. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do." In the Grand Council chamber of the Empire's capital world, High Counselor Rex stared at the holographic displays, showing the collapse of his civilization. Red dots marked systems lost to the humans and their growing alliance of liberated worlds. Yellow dots showed worlds in open rebellion. The few remaining blue dots of loyal systems were shrinking by the day. "Impossible," he muttered, his mandibles clicking in distress. 6 months. They'd done this in just 6 months. Admiral James stood before the council, no longer wearing his Empire uniform. Instead, he wore the simple blue uniform of the new human-led alliance. "I warned you," he said quietly. "The Watchers warned you. Humans are beyond your limits." The council chamber, once filled with hundreds of representatives, now held barely 30. The others had fled, switched sides, or simply disappeared as the Empire crumbled. The mighty civilization that had ruled the galaxy for 50,000 years was falling apart. "Their latest attack makes no sense," the defense minister complained, pointing to a battle replay. "They used cargo ships as weapons." Cargo ships. They turned our own transport networks against us. No species has ever fought like this. James watched the replay with a mix of awe and understanding. The humans had studied how the Empire's automated defense systems worked, then used that knowledge to turn ordinary cargo ships into weapons. The Empire's defenses, programmed to ignore registered cargo vessels, never saw the attack coming. "You still don't understand," James told them. "Humans don't think like us. When we see a cargo ship, we think transport. When they see a cargo ship, they think of a dozen different ways it could be used. They turn everything into a potential tool or weapon." On the main screen, another report flashed. 3 more Empire worlds had declared independence, asking for human protection. The Empire's rigid control was breaking down as more species learned about human ideas of freedom and self-determination. "They're teaching our subjects to think differently," Rex said, his voice filled with horror. "Showing them new ways to use technology, giving them ideas about independence and choice." James nodded. "That's their real weapon. Not their ships or their clever tactics. It's their ideas, their creativity, their ability to imagine something different and make it real." In orbit above the capital, the Empire's last great fleet assembled. 10,000 ships, the remaining strength of a once mighty civilization. Their commanders followed plans written thousands of years ago, preparing for one final battle to restore their control. But the humans weren't following any ancient plans. As the Empire fleet formed its perfect battle formation, hundreds of small gates opened in space, a new technology that combined human theories with Empire science. Through each gate came ships from liberated worlds, their crews using tactics learned from human teachers. "They've turned our own subjects into warriors like them," the defense minister whispered, watching the tactical display. "Everyone they free learns to fight like humans." James walked to the window, looking up at the battle beginning in orbit. "You could have had them as allies," he said softly. "The Watchers knew their potential. That's why they warned you. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. They want to explore it, improve it, share it with others." The council chamber shook as the first explosions reached the surface. The Empire's perfect formations were breaking apart, unable to cope with attacks that came from all directions, using tactics their computers couldn't predict. "It's over," James announced to the council. "The Empire as you knew it is finished. But humanity is offering you a choice. The same choice you should have offered them. Join us. Learn from us. Help us build something better." High Counselor Rex looked at the chaos on the displays, then at the hope in James's eyes. The Empire had spent 50,000 years telling other species to obey. Now they'd faced a species that asked others to imagine. 1 year after the fall of the Empire's capital, the Great Hall of the newly formed Galactic Federation buzzed with activity. Representatives from thousands of worlds gathered to witness something unprecedented. the first truly democratic galactic government. Ambassador Thomas stood at the central podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. Former Empire worlds sat beside newly liberated planets. Species that had once been enemies now worked together, sharing ideas and technology. And at the heart of it all were the humans, not as rulers, but as teachers and innovators. "We gather here today," Thomas began, "not to create a new empire, but to forge a true partnership among the stars. Each world free to develop in its own way, while sharing in the benefits of cooperation and mutual growth." In the front row, Admiral James sat beside Commander Reed and military advisor Michael. They watched as their former enemies voted enthusiastically for measures that would have been unthinkable under Empire rule. Freedom of technology sharing, open borders for trade and cultural exchange, the right of every species to choose their own path of development. "The humans have changed everything," James said quietly to his companions. "Not through conquest, but through inspiration." Reed nodded. "That's why the Watchers warned the Empire about us. They knew we wouldn't just resist control, we would transform the entire galaxy." On massive screens around the hall, images showed the changes already sweeping across known space. Former Empire shipyards now produced vessels of new design, combining the best ideas from 100 different worlds. Research stations buzzed with activity as scientists from various species worked together, free to explore new ideas without Empire restrictions. "We have a visitor," Michael said, pointing to the entrance. The hall fell silent as a crystalline figure entered, one of the Watchers. The ancient being moved to the center of the chamber, its form glowing with inner light. "We watched and waited," the Watcher's voice echoed through the hall. "We saw the Empire grow stagnant, forgetting that true strength lies not in control, but in adaptation and growth. Then we saw humanity rise, bringing with them the change this galaxy needed." Thomas stepped aside, allowing the Watcher to address the gathered representatives directly. "Humans proved to be exactly what we predicted, beyond limits, not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they refused to accept any limit as final. Where others saw boundaries, they saw challenges. Where others found reasons something couldn't be done, they found ways to do it anyway." The screens now showed Earth, transformed but still recognizably the cradle of humanity. Around it orbited massive stations where ships from across the galaxy came to trade and learn. The Sol system had become not an Empire outpost, but a center of innovation and cooperation. The Empire sought to control humanity. The Watcher continued, but humanity chose to liberate the galaxy instead. "They showed us all that the greatest power lies not in forcing others to follow, but in inspiring them to join you in reaching for the stars." As the Watcher finished speaking, the hall erupted in applause. Species that had lived under Empire control for thousands of years now looked to the future with hope and excitement. The rigid order of the Empire had been replaced by something more chaotic, but infinitely more alive. A galaxy full of possibilities. In orbit above the Federation capital, ships of all designs moved through space. Some followed the old Empire patterns, others used human innovations, and many combined styles in ways that had never been seen before. Each represented not just a way of traveling through space, but a way of thinking about what was possible. "What's next?" James asked Thomas as they watched the ships pass. Thomas smiled, pointing to the distant stars. "Out there, beyond the edges of known space, are endless new frontiers. And now, for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy is ready to explore them, not as conquerors or controllers, but as explorers and innovators." "Beyond limits," James mused, understanding at last the full meaning of the Watcher's warning. It had never been a warning of danger, but a prophecy of change. Humanity had not just defeated an empire, they had awakened a galaxy to its own potential. The stars beckoned, and this time, all species would reach for them together.